Hi everyone, welcome to your romance reading for Friday, July 17th. Your affirmation is, I acknowledge myself for creating a wonderful experience today. So for the reading, I decided to use 3 different decks. I decided to use one card from the Romance Angels, one card from the Soul Lessons and Soul Purpose Oracle, and one card from the Wild Wisdom of the Fairy Oracle, which is not the type of deck that I would normally use for a romance reading, but I really felt like this deck had a message for us. So let's go ahead and start with the first card. Keep an open mind. Your soulmate may differ from your usual type and expectations. So this card is really interesting because most people have a really good idea of what they're looking for in a partner. You already have a really good idea of what you want this person to look like, what characteristics and qualities you want them to have. And I know that some people, especially women, people that I've known personally who have these huge lists of exactly what they want in a person and what they don't want in someone. And there's nothing wrong with having preferences. But I feel like when you do have a specific list of what you want, I feel like you're just limiting yourself and you're not giving spirit enough to really work with. I feel like they're trying to help you. They're trying to bring you together with the person that you're supposed to be with. And this card is essentially telling you that you're not open-minded enough. Some of you have too narrow of an idea of what you want in someone. And they're telling you this because the person that you're really meant to be with is probably not going to fit your idea and your expectations as far as what you're looking for in someone. So when you begin to open your mind, then that will make it easier for you and this person to actually come together. But as long as you are not willing to open your mind, and when you're not willing to give someone a chance because they may not make enough money for you, because they don't have the kind of eye color that you would prefer, because they don't have as much hair, or they're not tall enough, or they might have a few extra pounds, you are limiting yourself. Because I can't tell you how many different soulmates and twin flames that I've read about, or who have personally told me this themselves, that the person that they ended up with was completely different from the people that they are normally attracted to. So you really have to be sure to keep an open mind and make sure that you're not limiting yourself, because the person that you're supposed to be with is most likely going to be completely different from what you're expecting. So next is correct your mistakes. So you can see that there's a man in the image who's putting out a fire. So correcting your mistakes in relationships can mean that you sometimes need to say that you're sorry, especially if you've hurt someone. And I also feel like this is not so much about correcting your mistakes, but more about learning from your mistakes that you made in the past. And some people repeat the same patterns over and over again in relationships. So pay attention to the way that you normally meet people. Pay attention to your behavior in relationships. Pay attention to the way that your relationships normally end. For example, do you normally meet people who are already with someone? That would be something that you probably would want to work on correcting. Do you normally put yourself down? Do you normally put the other person's need ahead of your own in relationships? Some people bend over backwards to please someone else, and there's nothing wrong with trying to make someone else happy, but it is when it's hurting you, when you're neglecting your own needs. So that would be something to work on. This card is just asking you to pay attention to your patterns. Some people move too quickly in relationships. They're too convinced that I met the right person this time. I found love. I know it. This is my soulmate. And they're just really excited and they rush in without thinking, without taking adequate time to get to know someone. And I can understand why people might be excited. You know, you always are when the relationship is new, but sometimes you really have to be careful not to rush in too quickly, not to be intimate with someone too quickly, not to move in with them too quickly. You just want to take your time and really get to know someone. I think for a lot of people, it's also about trying to change someone. For example, you meet someone who you know cheated on their partners in the past, and they may even admit this to you. You know someone who's not been the very best to the people that they were with previously, but then you meet this person and you get with them, and you think that you're going to be the exception, and then a year later into the relationship or 2 years later, you find out that you're not the exception and that this person has been treating you the same way that they treated all the other people before you. And, some people think that they are the exception because they think, well, their ex must not have been attractive enough, or their ex was too mean or too controlling, or, somehow you are better suited for them than the ex, but then you eventually find out that is not true. So when people show you the truth about themselves, you just have to be willing to believe that. You have to accept that. But I just feel like a lot of you are just repeating the same mistakes over and over again. And the point of making these mistakes is so that you can learn from them. And I don't believe that a lot of people are. And that is the reason why this card has come up. But if you don't eventually begin to learn from your mistakes, then you will meet people who have the same patterns. You'll meet people who are very similar to your exes. You'll have, a lot of the same problems in your relationships, because nothing really goes away until it teaches you what you need to know. So I feel like that is what this card is really trying to warn you about. And lastly, we have her special place. Find your own safe place inside and out. So if you can see, this fairy here is sitting alone, and her eyes are closed. It looks like she's really deep in thought. So this is a card about isolation. I feel like this card is telling some of you that you need this time alone to really think, to get to know yourself, to figure out what you really want in a relationship, to figure out how to get there, and to also just think about the mistakes that you made, and to be able to learn from those mistakes. But you're not going to be able to do that if you don't get to know yourself. And people are not necessarily aware of the patterns that they repeat in relationships. Sometimes it really takes time for you to go within and for you to really think about the mistakes that you made, how you met these people, how the relationships ended, all the problems that you had in between, and just realize, this is something that I need to change. And they're asking you to be aware of this because it might affect the relationship that you're going to have with that person that you're meant to be with. So they're trying to prepare you so that there'll be fewer problems when you do meet that person that you're supposed to be with. So what they want you to work on is keeping an open mind, and again, learning from past mistakes, and saying you're sorry when you need to. So I hope you all found this reading helpful. Thank you for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you this weekend.